Hey guys, this is me, Daniel Hutchins, and today we are doing an mega long article discussion. Yep, a mega long article discussion, part 3 for the mega long article discussions of 9/19/21 and 9/20/21. So today we're doing the 9/20/21 part 3 of the mega long article discussions. Alright, so first we are just doing some stuff from Screen Rant again, and we are talking about Squirrel Girl. Yep, Squirrel Girl. So how Squirrel Girl could be the next Deadpool. Okay. So overwhelmingly positive reactions from leaked footage of Squirrel Girl mirrors the circumstances that led to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. This was from 30 minutes ago, so on we go. The leaked footage showing Squirrel Girl could lead to a live-action television series, in the same way that leaked test footage helped for Deadpool movie getting made. Now, characters' name trended on social media following the footage release, and Disney would be short-sighted not to take disadvantage of this in the same way Fox built upon the hype of Deadpool leaks. Now, the buzz began on September the 9th of 2021, when Writer had released test footage from Marvel's 2017 New Warrior show, for which there was the showrunner. The series was highly hyped at the time, but reportedly canceled because one executive said the finished show was too gay. Now, regardless, the footage proved popular with Marvel Comics fans online, particularly the series' interpretation of Squirrel Girl, played by someone called Milana Van Trub, who also voiced a character in Marvel Rising animated series. Squirrel Girl's name trended on Twitter for over a day. Yep, with Beagle's footage was released, and people are still talking about how Marvel Studios dropped the ball on not bringing Squirrel Girl in the MCU in the role. Okay, so related to this article is how X-Men Origins Wolverine screwed up Deadpool. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So the fan response to Van Trub as Squirrel Girl strongly resembles the outcry in 2014 when they test the footage for Deadpool movie featuring Ryan Reynolds as the infamous Merc with a Mouth was leaked online during San Diego Comic-Con, otherwise known as SDCC. Now, Fox executives had been reluctant to pursue the Deadpool movie. That was true to the comics, fearing that the R-rated superhero movie featuring such an obscure character could never have been successful as it was. But the overwhelmingly positive feedback from the fans has calmed their fears and convinced them to give Tim Miller and Ryan Reynolds the go-ahead. This end result was a $738 million blockbuster beloved by critics and comic readers alike. Okay, so while it might not be possible for New Warriors to be revived from this original form, there still seems little reason why Disney could not create a new series centered around Milana Van Trub as Squirrel Girl. Now, her character is far more established than Deadpool was for the time of his film's release, thanks to a succession of comics aimed to young readers. In Squirrel Girl's existing animated appearances, Squirrel Girl series would also fit nicely with the other upcoming Marvel Studio production, centered around female heroes, like Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel. Now, another interesting approach, which could solve the other problem Disney currently has, would to be to make Squirrel Girl the antagonist of the long-awaited Deadpool 3. The twos had an adversarial relationship in comics, where Squirrel Girl was one of the few beings who could beat Deadpool in a fight and force him to behave himself. This could allow Deadpool to be introduced in the MCU in a form that was true to the comics, even if he were forced to scale back his more extreme activities. even if he didn't play off his past. And the Deadpool movie centered around Wade Wilson, trying to do his job while evading the much more wholesome, idealistic Doreen Green. Would be fun, and the idea of Ryan Reynolds playing off of Milana Van Trope and vice versa is priceless. Now, in any event, it would be foolish for Disney not to take advantage of this fan demand for Squirrel Girl project of some kind, with or without Deadpool involved. Okay, so that's just a little bit of some information about how Squirrel Girl can be introduced in MCU. Now we are talking about something else that I wanted to visit. Something from a day ago. The Captain America MCU musical already has a major ending problem. Okay, so Hawkeye trailer revealed the new Captain America musical. But this Broadway show already has the major Marvel Cinematic Universe ending problem. Okay, so Hawkeye trailers revealed the new Captain America musical in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the show has an obvious ending problem. Now, despite Endgame marking the end of original Avengers team, Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye Clint Barton is coming back for more in the Disney Plus series. His superhero friends, and of course, Barton hangs out in New York and deals with the fallout of his deadly past as Ronin in Endgame, but the arrow-slinging hero won't be alone for long, because Kate Bishop, played by Haley Steinfeld, joins the MCU in the series, becoming Hawkeye's very own protege, and perhaps usurping Barton as the MCU's new bow-wielding Avenger. Okay, so besides breaking up the Avengers Endgame, also brought to the end of the original Captain America Chris Evans. From the film, Cap goes on a mission to return the Infinity Stones to the moments from which the Avengers borrowed them. By returning the Infinity Stones to their respective MCU timelines, Captain America would prevent dangerous branch timelines from forming. However, Cap decides to improvise while on the mission. After returning the stones, he chose to live life in the past, growing old with Peggy Carter, played by Haley Atwell. Cap later returns to the Avengers to give his shield to Falcon, Anthony Mackie, hoping he will take on the mantle as the new Captain America. Related to this article is why Bucky could let Captain America die, but Cap couldn't give him up. We're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. Okay, so the Hawkeye trailer reveals the Captain America musical, but the play seems to have the problem. In Hawkeye, Barton seemingly takes his kids to see the Cap-inspired musical, but large signs revealed that the title of the Broadway shows as Rogers, the musical, and the style of the title evokes similarities to Hamilton. A scene from the play even shows actors playing the original Avengers and performing an upbeat dance routine. However, Endgame had concluded Cap's story with the hero traveling to the past and living out his life. Though Cap's story ends with time travel, this official account for the public would likely be very different. Okay? And of course, there's pictures of posters down below that say, Rogers the Musical. Okay? So there is zero chance Hawkeye play recalls Captain America's real MCU story. Now, Endgame tells a complicated tale about the Avengers traveling to the past, to multiple timelines, and that's even difficult for some MCU fans to understand, since the Avengers would likely keep the details under wraps of the time-traveling exploits from the public. And Steve Rogers' musical has a clear issue. From the Falcon Winter Soldier, Torres, played by Danny Ramirez, even brings up this rumor that Captain America is secretly on the moon. With so much confusion about Rogers ending the MCU, the play likely doesn't have its right. But Rogers the Musical may also have other issues in Hawkeye. Now, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which is another real Broadway show about superheroes, has notoriously suffered from story problems and effects issues. In addition to this, the story problems with Rogers not telling the true story of Steve Rogers, the play also looks relatively low budget, with costumes and sets looking somewhat simplified. Everything about this play seems like it could be the MCU version of the real-life Spider-Man show disaster, with so many other potential issues. Thanos, Josh Brolin, wouldn't need a finger snap to make the show's audience disappear. Okay. Alright, so now we are currently about 11 minutes into this article discussion. So now we are going back to Screen Rant exclusives, because there's good stuff in the exclusives. Alright. So we just gotta find something. Right. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to be talking about Batman. Okay, so Titans Theory, Batman's Return, will set up DC's most controversial Robin. The most controversial Robin, which is Damien Wayne, will debut in the 4th season with Batman's Return. Okay, now we are talking more about the controversial Robin, Damien Wayne. Warning, there are some spoilers from Titans Season 3, so if you haven't seen the other few seasons, check them out on HBO. Okay, so Batman's return to Titans could set up the debut for DC Comics' most controversial Robin, Damien Wayne, who was the son of Batman. Over the span of 3 seasons, 3 of Batman's Robins have been introduced to the series. You had Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and most recently, the Tim Drake. While Titans' 3rd season has largely focused on Jason Todd's evolution to the Red Hood, the setting up of the debut of Tim Drake as the next Robin, it's also possible that a potential 4th season of Titans could introduce Bruce Wayne's biological son to the series as well, Damien Wayne. So in DC Comics, Damien Wayne is the most current up-to-speed Robin, and he's also the most challenging to deal with. While he more often than not has the disposition of being an entitled brat with the air of arrogant superiority, Damien's background and origins are largely to blame. Now, having been trained since birth to be a killer assassin, Damien has a streak of darkness that his father is constantly trying to temper, with help from the other Robins. Okay, so related to this article is Titans gives Dick Grayson his own version of Batman's no guns rule. Okay, but we're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. So while Batman has been absent from Titans' 3rd season, it would suddenly be exciting if Damien was the reason why he's been gone for so long, while also explaining his eventual return as well. Furthermore, there have also been a handful of clues and hints, and clues again, that could suggest the 4th Robin debut as well, setting him up for the possible Season 4 debut. Okay, so Damien Wayne, Batman's son and Robin explained. Okay, so Damien Wayne is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul, who is the daughter of the Demon's Head, Ra's al Ghul, leader of the League of Assassins. Artificially inseminated, using Bruce Wayne's DNA, Talia gave birth to Damien in secret without Batman's knowledge. The Dark Knight didn't know that his son existed until Damien was 10 years old. By that time, already an experienced and trained killer. having been groomed to become the heir to the demon due to Batman's refusal to replace Ra's al Ghul as the demon's head. However, Batman eventually brought Damien to Gotham to live in Wayne Manor, where his son would eventually become the next Robin. That being said, Damien has often struggled to adhere to his father's rules about restraint and non-lethal methods. Now, being one of the more difficult Robins in comparison similar to Jason Todd, as a result, Bruce and Damien have often struggled to be partners while also being father and son. Batman's Titan's disappearance needs a big payoff. Okay, so after Jason Todd had died from Titan Season 3 premiere, Batman left Gotham in Dick Grayson's care, after he murdered the Joker, Jason's killer, who seemingly leaving the cape and cowl behind, and leaving no hints as where he went to. Now, Nightwing and the Titans have been working to keep Gotham safe in the face of the Scarecrow and his new partner Red Hood, because Red Hood decided to join Scarecrow in a dark crusade, which I probably had talked about in another article, which you can check on my videos, on my mega long article discussions. But anyway, the darker persona we know, Jason Todd, became after his resurrection. However, due to this mystery of Bruce's disappearance, it seems as though he could soon return, perhaps with someone new by his side. Related to this article, Titans repeats DC's same Scarecrow story for the third time. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So Batman being gone definitely needs a good explanation. And though seeing him return to Gotham with his son would certainly be a big payoff, his time away from could see him confronting Ra's al Ghul to have Jason brought back to life. Now, not knowing that Scarecrow already used the Lazarus Pit, Bruce was unaware of in Gotham to resurrect the former Robin. Damien could be revealed instead, living amongst the League of Assassins before deciding to go with his father back to Gotham. Okay, Titan Season 3, Ra's al Ghul, hints that could link to Damien Wayne. Okay, so furthermore, there's been a handful of references to Ra's al Ghul himself. In Titan Season 3, not only did the Titans think the demon's head was initially evolved in Jason's resurrection, but Ra's al Ghul's sword was also featured in the Batcave with Batman's collection of trophies from his villains. Okay, so however, the biggest tease was the Lazarus Pit used to bring Jason back being featured in Gotham City. Okay, so with all these references to Ra's al Ghul, it feels as though the Demon's Head and the League of Assassins could become future antagonists to the Titans in future seasons. Now, furthermore, having Damien Wayne join the Titans as a new Robin could be a perfect setup for a reason for Ra's to set his sights on the team of young vigilantes, potentially wanting his grandson back as the heir to the demon and the League's future leader. Nightwing becoming Batman clues further support that Damien Wayne's arrival. Okay, so it's also been teased in Titans' third season that Nightwing himself could become the new Batman, with Bruce Wayne's absence. Now this would fall into the line with the comics quite well, given the fact that Dick Grayson elects to put on the cape and cowl before Bruce's temporary death at the hands of Darkseid. While this would be certainly the dynamic evolution for Dick Grayson himself, it would also provide the perfect opening for Damien's arrival. Okay, so related to this article is Titan's new bat signal has supported Dick Grayson becoming the new next Batman theory. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So Batman's death had occurred shortly after Damien was brought to Gotham. resulting from the fact that the son of Batman, becoming Grayson's Robin, first in the comics before eventually joined his father's side. Once Batman returned to the land of the living, as a result, Nightwing potentially becoming the next Batman in Titans would be a perfect in regards to the series introducing Damien Wayne as the new Robin with the Titans. Theory: Damien Wayne becomes Robin in Titans Season 4, and what does that mean? So if you guys want me to do that as a future follow-up to some of my article discussions later down the road, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, back on to our information. Beyond simply completing the set of Batman's Robins from the Titans, introducing the Damien Wayne in the series, future would have some interesting implication. Now, much of the series has put a rather negative light on Batman and his training methods, resulting in Dick Grayson and Jason Todd having quite a bit of compromise and darkness they've either had overcome or still struggling with. Now, likewise, Tim Drake is coming on board as Robin, who can redeem the role somewhat. Now, having never been one of the Bruce's worlds, he also been a Robin simultaneously off and on with Damien in the comics. Now, Bruce has already acknowledged that he's made mistakes with Dick and Jason, so perhaps he'll want Dick the mentor and help Damien instead. It would certainly flip the scripts around, where Dick is even more in Bruce's shoes than he was, being challenged to be better than the Batman who raised him for raising a Robin himself. Okay, so in any case, where this proves the pure fury and conjectures to the moments, there certainly seems to be enough that there's already been references or currently in the works on Titans where introducing Damien Wayne could become an organic next step for the series. Now, despite his controversial nature as a Robin, who's pretty hard to handle and get along with, Damien could certainly be an interesting challenge for Dick Grayson, while also helping to pay off Batman's disappearance from the series in a very exciting way. Okay, so time check. Time check is 23 minutes. I'm going to be doing a few more articles and then I'm going to close this part up. And then a couple hours later I'll do part 4 of the mega long article discussions of 919 and 920-21. Okay, so just remember, on a side note, guys, I just want to let you guys know that if you guys want to see more of these discussions in the future, just also let me know in the comments below. But anyway, so now we're visiting why Marvel TV shows won't become MCU canon again, despite the fan complaints. Now, this was pretty hot information regarding to the fact that there's been lots and lots of talk about this before. So Marvel TV shows won't become MCU canon again despite fan complaint. So Marvel television fans are petitioned for the old MCU TV shows to be considered the canon again, but sadly that's not happening. Now this was from a couple days ago. So the old Marvel television shows aren't ever going to be restored to canon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, regardless of the fan complaints, which is really bad news because, like I said, it's Marvel stuff, and usually Marvel stuff would normally be able to be enjoyed again and again. But when the MCU launched in 2008, the promise was that everything would be connected. Now in 2013, Marvel Television's first live-action TV show appeared to be an extension of that promise, with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tying in the MCU's broader narratives, especially from its first season, but as years passed it unfortunately became clear those connections would only ever be a one-way. Now, Marvel Television is defunct, and it's generally becoming clear that all of our old TV shows should really be considered non-canon. Understandably, it's a huge disappointment to a devoted fan base. This has most recently manifested in a passionate appeal by the team who run the MCU wiki page via the Twitter, in which they ask Marvel Studios to clarify the shows that are considered canon and ensure nothing is done to damage them. I and we have put so much devotion emotionally into those shows as part of the MCU. They write, watching these shows and experiencing and devoting myself to the world they return, receiving one of the few sources of joy in my life, as I shared in the world, grown and progressing to all of its dimensions, it would really hurt to find out that devotion was wasted, misled, wrong the whole way, and the rare joyful thing in my life as a falsehood. The letter is a heart-wrenching one from fans who absolutely loved TV shows like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and were willing to accept even poorer products such as the Inhumans and Iron Fist because they understood the value of their shared universe. Now related to this article is, it's time to accept Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't MCU canon. Now, that's something that I'm only going to talk about if you guys want me to talk about. But again, leave that in the comments. I need to see communication. Otherwise, I probably will skip over it. But if there's any chance such appeals will work, or has a line been drawn to the sand, one that effectively erases all the old Marvel television shows from continuality, sadly the evidence is building that the latter isn't the case. Right now, it really doesn't look as though these Marvel TV shows should be considered part of MCU anymore. Marvel TV shows don't fit MCU canon anymore. Now, the first few seasons of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rejoiced from their connectivity with major arcs orbiting around the events of Captain America Winter Soldier and Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, unfortunately, the later proved rather more contentious than anybody has ever expected, because director Joss Whedon chose not to make an explicit nod to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the film, believing it would be confusing for viewers who are already familiar with those movies. As far as we were concerned, in this movie, Coulson's dead, Whedon insisted. If you come back in a sequel and say Coulson's alive, it's like putting fucking John Gregory in a sequel to Arthur. It mattered that he's gone, but it's a different world now, and you have to run with that. Shortly after this, the corporate restructure at Marvel, forced by Disney due to souring relationship between Kevin Feige and Marvel's reclusive then CEO, Ike Perlmutter, led to the film studio being separated from the rest of Marvel Entertainment. Now, the explicit references pretty much ended, with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. settling for thematic nods instead, such as the use of Ghost Rider when Doctor Strange was about to hit the cinemas. Now, the lack of any direct channel of communication between Marvel Studios and Marvel Television would ultimately undermine Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. When the series attempted to tie in to the Avengers Infinity War as a part of MCU's 10-year anniversary celebration, there is a sense in which Thanos was the true villain of Season 5, because those events were driven by an alien conspiracy who were attempting to take advantage of the Mad Titan's impending attack on Earth. Although Season 5 ended with explicit nods for Thanos' arrival in New York, the show never moved on to deal with consequence of his erasing half the living creatures in the universe. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 6 and 7 ignored Thanos' snap, with Marvel Television Jeff Loeb explaining why. Now, just looking at it from a very practical place in your mind, which is what the world looked like post-snap. It was like not something you've not seen yet," he explained. "We were already shooting, and so Marvel waved the problem away by suggesting all TV shows were pre-snap, an argument that just didn't fit with their timeline. Now, Marvel Television has since been down in part because it's impossible for them to compete with the high-budget TV shows streaming on Disney+. Since then, it has become abundantly clear Marvel Studios has no interest in keeping Iron Element's canon from an old TV show. Okay, so WandaVision's Darkhold has a different design to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and shared none of its history. Now, while Loki avoided any reference to Coulson's resurrections, the most shocking and frankly counterintuitive was the decision not to reference the Agent Carter TV series in Marvel Legends videos. Now, given the series is entirely contained on Disney Plus, and promoting it in that matter could have encouraged further engagement with streaming service. Meanwhile, though, the addition of the chronological order on Disney Plus has added more problems because the chronologically broke Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. timeline by switching some of those films around. Okay, related to this article is WandaVision just made every Marvel TV show redundant. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So Marvel Studios President Kevin Feige is frequently asked questions about canonicity, but he refuses to be drawn, presumably aware of making any views public could potentially be very divisive. Indeed, James Gunn is not so reluctant, insisting to social media that no pre-WandaVision TV shows are connected. But it's striking that MCU doesn't exactly seem to be paying much attention to what has gone before. Now, Marvel's What If has drawn so many aspects to wide canon, even explicitly confirming tie-ins with comics such as Fury's Big Week. But it notably hasn't done so for anything made by Marvel Television. There's a sense in which this is frankly even worse than making the official statements, because when fans speak the truth about canon, what they are really meaning is that they want the things that have loved to matter to the count for something in a broader narrative. But that certainly doesn't seem to be the case for Marvel Television products as far as comparison contrast to the MCU. The arguments for Marvel TV shows being canon. Okay? Fan petition does attempt to argue the shows were and should still be considered canon. Now, the writers point to many old quotes that suggest Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the first MCU TV series, not WandaVision, and that the TV shows flesh out the stories told from big screen. But at heart, their plea is an emotional one, driven by the years of investment they've made in the shared universe as a whole. In their view, wiping out the old Marvel television shows from canon would be akin to declaring 29 seasons into a series. That's a massive amount of what preceded. It was all just a dream. In narrative terms, such as approach would be deeply damaging the entire model the MCU operates on. Which is kind of fucking stupid. But anyway, one of the most important arguments in the petition essentially boils down to the fact Marvel Television was better than many had thought, and its strengths should not be overlooked. It was particularly strong in terms of diversity and representation, frankly putting Marvel Studios to shame. You had Marvel's first gay, Asian, and Latino superheroes made their debuts in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where Chloe Bennett starred as an Asian American hero, Quake. Runaways was unafraid to celebrate young lesbian superheroes. Both Luke Cage and Cloak and Dagger had handled issues of racial inequality remarkably fucking well, And erasing these numerous TV series from canon effectively wipes out a lot of fucking diversity in MCU. Now at the stroke, which is particularly fucking troubling. Now why the MCU wouldn't make older Marvel TV shows canon again? Well, that's a good fucking question. We're going to answer that. Ultimately though, there are sad reasons as to why Marvel Studios is unlikely to respond to those appeals by making the older Marvel TV shows matter again. But by not declaring them as canon is pretty fucked up. Now, but building upon their concepts and their lore, the core issues is that the MCU is a product of a single vision. With Kevin Feige as the architect of the film franchise blockbuster success, as was recognized in 2015 when the studio was pulled out to the wider Marvel Entertainment Group and he became the president. In contrast, Marvel television shows were nothing to do with Feige. There don't even seem to have been good communication channels after Marvel's restructure in 2015. Now, as good as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Daredevil, Cloak and Dagger, Runaways, and so many others, they do not represent Feige's vision. They don't fit, according to what they think. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., every MCU movie character who appeared. We're not talking about that, we're talking about someone else. So it doesn't help that between 2013 and 2020, there were so many episodes of Marvel television shows. Marvel likes to give their writers and directors lots of freedom when they're producing content, and already this poses problems given the sheer amount of content that's officially canon, or should be canon. Now, they're not going to expect someone to check out multiple seasons of a TV series, as well as with the films, just in order to ensure they got the plot point right. Now, WandaVision director Matt Shakman illustrated this when he was asked about WandaVision's Darkhold, which I talked about in a video, if you checked one of my videos, which was very different in the Book of Sins, seen from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We didn't look at the other Darkholds that were designed, he observed. I don't know exactly how it was used in those other shows. But because I wasn't a regular viewer, the Darkhold has a comic origin. Its mythology will continue to be developed. Now, in argument and in truth, Marvel doesn't actually seem especially interested in micro-level continuity, to the level of the fans often are in the first place. So it's not especially surprising they're not referenced in their TV shows. Ironically, though, this question of canonicity may not be quite as important as some fans had believed. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was not good because it was not part of the MCU. It was good because it was lovingly made by the tremendous team. And it featured skilled actors who grew into the roles as the show went on. Now, indeed, by the time it ended, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. distance from the MCU was a strength, because it had built up its lore and mythology, covering everything from time travel rules, better, more consistently formulated than Avengers Endgame, to Inhumans from Kree monoliths, to alien races. Now the truth is even more apparent with other Marvel television shows that never explicitly attempted to tie to the films in the first place. Daredevil isn't one of the best superhero TV shows made in the last decade, simply because it happens in the same world as Iron Man and the Avengers, but because it was well made in its own right. Canonicity does not equal quality, according to what they're saying, and a show does not have to be canon to count, according to what they said. But the Marvel television shows have a profound effect on popular culture, meaning many of their concepts and characters will surely be revisited in the future. That is, if there's a future. And if Marvel Studios do soft reboots, they might well bring back celebrated actors like Charlie Cox, Chloe Bennett, Vincent D'Onofrio, and others. But this legacy, more than anything else, will demonstrate that these shows do matter, whether they are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or not. Okay, so that just explains, kind of clearing up what the difference was between what is considered canon and what is considered canon. If you guys have comments about that, please leave it in the comments below. I like to see some communication. I like to see what your thoughts are. And let me know if you actually signed a petition or not, if Marvel TV shows from Netflix should be considered MCU canon. I'd like to see some information from you guys on the comments, for Christ's sake. Okay, so we are doing another article and we are going to close this up. Okay. We just have to find something. There's a lot of hot information right now in comic books and movie universe right now, guys. So, alright. We just have to find something. Okay, so now we're talking about some information updates on Captain America 4. How and why Crossbones could return to Captain America 4. Okay, now the actor Frank Grillo could return as Crossbones in the MCU future, and here's how and why. Brock Rumlow could make a return in Captain America 4. This was from 3 hours ago. Crossbones could return to MCU, and here's how and why. It could happen in Captain America 4. The Frank Grillo was expected to play a major role in MCU as Crossbones when he first appeared in Captain America Winter Soldier. This didn't pan out though, as Brock Rumlow died in the very next appearance. Still, Grillo thinks that there's a chance he'll play Crossbones again, and that could be the plot for Captain America 4. Now, following the events of Falcon Winter Soldier, Marvel Studios is currently developing the 4th Captain America movie, starring Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, and the film will pick up after the Disney Plus series and expand to Sam's adjustment to becoming Captain America. Details on Captain America 4 are very slim at this moment because it is in the future. But anyway, as the specific story that will tell remains a mystery, there is a possibility that this movie will build on the formation of the Dark Avengers and Thunderbolts and pit Sam's Captain America against the likes of John Walker and other villains. It's also expected that other characters from Falcon Winter Soldier and Captain America franchise at large could be seen as well. Okay, so later circle, what Captain America 4 needs to learn from Falcon Winter Soldier. We're not talking about that, we're talking about something else. When it comes to figuring out who could return to Captain America 4, the ever-expanded nature of MCU and Marvel's ability to bring back unexpected actual characters in the surprising ways means almost nothing is truly off the table. This could mean one of the reasons why Grillo believes he'll play Crossbones again, as he might already know about his plans for his live-action return to the MCU. Could that be in Captain America 4? Here's how Crossbones could return for the upcoming MCU movie, and why that matters, and why it makes sense that this would be where he's seen next. Crossbones could return from the dead. Okay, so one way that Crossbones could return in Captain America 4 is if Marvel Studios decides to bring him back from the dead in some fashion. Now, after barely surviving the Triskelion collapse in Captain America Winter Soldier, Crossbones returned to the beginning of Captain America Civil War. He's fought the Avengers and Captain America in Lagos, which was a country, and he tried to steal the bioweapon. Crossbones and his men were defeated by the Avengers though, but he wasn't going to go down without taking other people with him. He initiated a bomb that was strapped to his chest right in front of Captain America, and he would have killed Steve right then and there when it exploded if it wasn't for Scarlet Witch containing the blast. Now the bomb still went off, though it was difficult to imagine that Crossbones could survive that explosion. Alright? So that said, there were ways for the MCU to get around this if it wanted to bring Crossbones in Captain America 4. Now Crossbones' body isn't shown, but it shows that it creates some wiggle room when it comes to creating a path for him to survive the explosion from his bomb from Civil War. But Brock Rumlow's transformation from Barry Survive in Captain America Winter Soldier to get some level enhancement to become Crossbones could contain the key. This could be the place for Marvel to explain that he only survived in the first place because he gained cybernetic enhancement. Now Crossbones could then possibly make a presumed Lagos death if he was able to be repaired. Yep, repaired. The MCU could even take this step further by revealing that Crossbones featured in Captain America Civil War was a life model decoy, allowing the original Crossbones, or new LMD, to return to Captain America 4. Crossbones could return through flashbacks. Okay, so Crossbones' MCU return in Captain America 4 could also be done in a simple fashion, if he's brought back from flashbacks. There are several possible points in MCU timeline that could allow Crossbones to return from flashbacks that fit within Captain America 4. One of the more intriguing options is between Captain America Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War. Now, Captain America and the Avengers pursued Crossbones for months, leading to their encounter in Lagos. Now, Steve remarks that the Lagos mission was the closest they've come to getting the Rumlow, but Sam could have been in charge of the search from the beginning. Now, a flashback to Sam's pre-Captain America days might have been needed to give Crossbones a chance to be seen again. Okay, so related to this article, Captain America 4, every MCU character expected to appear. It is even possible that flashbacks in Captain America 4, featuring Crossbones, could reveal that he has a connection to the film villain or story. The bioweapon that Crossbones tried to steal in Captain America Civil War was never released though, but perhaps another foe has managed to get their hands on now. Captain America 4 could even reveal that Crossbones was originally hired to steal the bioweapon by the film villain. Someone like Valentina, or whoever she was, working for, might be interested in such the weapon. Now then again, if Val was building the Dark Avengers of the Thunderbolts, it is possible Crossbones was an early target of hers to join the team in some fashion. Okay, Crossbones could return through the multiverse. Okay, the multiverse is another option that Marvel Studios could be using when figuring out how to look at potentially bringing Crossbones back. This already happened in a small dose thanks to Marvel What If. In Phase 4, the MCU is exploring the multiverse for multiple upcoming projects. Now, it will play the massive role in an overall story for several ways. Now, Captain America 4 doesn't sound like a project that will focus or revolve around such this concept, but it might still deal with it some form. Now, if Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness breaks the multiverse even further, a Crossbones variant could join the main MCU timeline, dependent from the fallout of the multiverse break-in. Now, Strange could ask Sam to round up some variants he's familiar with, such as Crossbones. Now, this is admittedly the least likely option of how Crossbones could return Captain America 4, but it's still worth the mention. Why Crossbones needs the return for Captain America 4? The MCU has brought characters previously believed to be dead back from multiple occasions. Now, Crossbones is another character who deserves the second shot. He has great potential in a character, and likely would have had a much bigger role in MCU if the third Captain America movie didn't evolve around the Civil War adaptation. Now, the end result of the movie development meant wasting Crossbones and eliminating any chance of him having a future. Now there is still a lot more that Marvel could do with Crossbones, though, and Frank Grillo was criminally underused in his 2 appearances. Now bringing him back as Crossbones in some fashion makes sense, especially though if he wants to keep playing the character, and Captain America 4 is the right spot for him. It's best associated with the franchise and the characters who will likely be seen in. Unless Marvel is saving Crossbones' next appearance for the mystery Captain America Chris Evans MCU return project. Then, Captain America 4 is the best place for Rumlow's return. I would say so myself because I really think that is a good idea. Alright, so there you go, guys. That is just a little bit of some information for you guys, closing off with Crossbones. If you guys like this content, please slap that thumbs up button. I like to see your comments on my material, and have a wonderful day. Bye.